Hi, I'm Chris from Airwindows, and we're doing another Forbidden Music. And we're back to one of the classic Forbidden Musics, AC/DC, Back in Black. So here's the deal. I've already showed Back in Black, the song. This is not Back in Black, the song. This is You Shook Me All Night Long, the song. And you only get to hear little snippets of it because I'm using ContentID. So although I have this record, you don't get to hear it fully. Also, this one's even more crackly than the previous one, I think. But that doesn't matter because what I'm bringing to your attention here is partly just the dynamics that it shows, yes. But I also want to talk about something that you would not necessarily have guessed. And because people think of AC/DC as like a heavy metal band or something. They're a heavy band in the sense of they play heavy. Here's your bass, and center is Angus Young on lead. You got Malcolm Young on rhythm guitar. I'm going to bring attention to that. And that's a Gretsch. And then here's your drummer. I've been working on my drums, trying to make them be able to do things like this, but I don't think I've actually succeeded, but I'm doing my level best. And of course, this was engineered by Mutt Lange, but it's AC/DC engineered by Mutt Lange, meaning they didn't just let him do anything he wanted. Instead, they made him record their band the way the band plays. And so there was no replacing of all the drums with samples or anything like that. And, for certain like Def Leppard oriented things, they were getting into things like that, recording drums and then replacing them with like sample drums that are massively slowed down just so that it's a huge giant noise. This is a different kind of giant noise. And you'll immediately notice that the drums sound amazing. One of the things I'm trying to do to get my own drums to sound in the same kind of amazing is a very slackened snare batter head. And I had to get an entirely different set of hi-hat cymbals, which haven't showed up in a song yet. Because I went and got some 12-inch Paiste ultra light splashes and used those as hi-hat cymbals, just so that it makes this little even when hit with a heavy stick, it can only make so much loudness, it can only make so much volume, and I end up having a balance that is not that wildly off. Because as you hear the bits of this, understand that with certain choices you can end up with particularly in the room, because I like doing room mic recordings, you can end up with something where the hats are going really loudly and covering up the amount of amplitude you have to get out of the snare and kick. And close miking only gets you so far, because close miking also changes the tone of things. In the picture that I just showed, you see that the kick mic is sort of at the outside hole rather than entirely inside and half an inch from the batter head. It's not that kind of kick mic. And that contributes to the type of sound that it produces. But the thing I wanted to talk about a little bit is the guitar sounds. So we know this song, right? You Shook Me All Night Long. Dum, 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 dum. Dum. It's being played incredibly crisply because that's AC/DC's thing. Always was, always will be. And firstly, notice how loud and punchy that bass is. The bass is taking up most of the space in the wall of chordal sound that's being produced. But then, listen for how undistorted the guitars are in the little windows of sound that you get to hear in a forbidden track, because I get to These don't have to be private videos or anything like that. They can be fully public, but I don't get to play the music very directly. I only get to play the music in little snippets. It's enough to hear what the guitars are doing if you listen closely. Listen for how unsaturated those are. This is a far cry from like Van Halen, much less heavy metal. It's like clang, and part of that is the fact that it's a Gretsch. A lot of the chords in here, it's a combination of SG and Gretsch, because Malcolm Young was playing a Gretsch. Gretsch is a little more wiry, a little more jangly, but beyond that, if you saturate it, it'll still chug a little bit. It'll still gent, right? Listen for how much this does not gent. Listen for how much this does not chug. It's really weirdly clean for something where you immediately hear it and go, oh yeah, that's AC/DC. That's heavy stuff. Yeah, some of the heaviness is bass guitar impact, drums impact. And some of the heaviness is the kind of heaviness that you get if you say, much like, for instance, Yes, or any number of other bands, Dead Kennedys use Fender Twins instead of Marshalls. People who use Twins for heavy turned up all the way sounds, there is a front and edge on the pick attack that is just arresting, sudden, aggressive. It doesn't chug. It doesn't gent. It goes and whacks really hard, and you compose your wall out of that sound combined with the bass attack, combined with the drums attack, and that's how you get it. So You Shook Me All Night Long is really, really striking for how undistorted the walls of chords are. Listen for it. Listen for how little gain is on that. I've been fooling around with my amp and stuff. One of the things I'm looking to do going forwards into the year, before this year is out, I intend to make my first preamplifier stomp box so that I can run into my little amp. Often you see it in the background of live streams and stuff. It's up on a stand right now. And my little amp has a low wattage Celestian greenback in there and growth cloth in front of it, otherwise it just hurts your ears. And a tiny little Epiphone Valve Junior, which I hot rodded a little bit, but it's still basically a Valve Junior. And if I run a Strat into that, it can be nice and clean and still sound like big and clear and loud, but it doesn't make you go, oh no, I need to not play this when the neighbors are around or I will get a police complaint. Start running the humbucker guitars into that, and it seems like it's not actually that much. It doesn't give you chug, no matter what. You can't get chug out of it, but it starts to get obnoxious with how loud it's going. And I've been thinking in terms of like, I need to put a preamplifier in there. But maybe what I need to do is come up with a preamplifier where I can do stuff like this and have an incredibly high impact, but not chuggy and crunchy guitar sound coming out of the stuff that I've currently got. Always experimenting with things, always trying to get that back into shape. Looking forward to doing more of that this year. But yeah, I feel like I'm going to need to come up with a pedal to boost or buffer the sounds of some of my humbucker guitars just enough that they can make this kind of wall, but not so much that it turns into gent. Because I think there's room to experiment with what this kind of thing can do, especially since this utterly canonical, ultimate hard rock mixes of stuff like this. Listen for yourself. Listen to how the guitars are mixed, and they'll sound somewhat far away because they're being recorded at Compass Point, and they had a big enough room where they didn't have to put the guitars are not a type of sound that is like super upfront. I'm working on further reverbs and things where you could put even a DI guitar and have it seem like farther back in the room, like these sounds. But listen for how much of that sound is like room ambience and just kind of chime and clang and brightness and stuff, rather than chug and overdrive. It's weirdly, weirdly clean. Don't believe me? Check this out. Here is AC/DC You Shook Me All Night Long off of original vinyl, which is a little scratchy and stuff. And you only get to hear little snippets of it because this is forbidden music, but not so forbidden that I can't show you it in Airwindows Meter. Check it out.
Those Americans fighting for air, already there. God was quaking my mind, making it in you. Walking double time, other kinds of just applause and just out of me and come down to take a ring, to take a